I want to send some gratitude to each of you for coming and arriving early enough to get settled in and give ourselves the gift of these few minutes just to be together. So no need to add anything to the chat, but if you're moved to share your blessing, or if you can identify your intention for our meditation practice today, you're welcome to do that in the chat. And we can begin also to call to mind and put in the chat the name or names of anyone in our lives who we're praying for healing, who are ailing in any way, physically, emotionally, spiritually. As I often mention, in Jewish tradition, there is this beautiful idea that just being present for somebody who's suffering can alleviate some of that suffering. Can't completely take it away, but uh, just presence, simply being with somebody, holding their hand, makes a big difference. So as we are calling up in our mind the name or names of those in our lives who are in need of healing, and also being present for all those who are named who we may not personally know, but who are known to others in our little group here. Let's see if we can actually be with them. Invite help to picture them in our mind's eye, a little picture of them. Imagine sitting with them. Would imagine holding their hand, or giving them a hug, or resting a hand on their shoulder. And we can pray for refuah shlema, for complete and full healing for them, for all who suffer from illness of any kind, where healing or cure is not possible. May these these beings who we love be blessed with comfort and with peace. We're continuing day after day as well to hold in our minds and our hearts our siblings who are held in captivity for so many hundreds of days, for 400 days. Uh, Not forgetting, you're remembering them. We're with them, praying for their safety, their well being, and their safe return home. And we are also praying for the safe return home for all those who've been uprooted, displaced by the war, Israelis, Palestinians, Lebanese. May they be blessed to return home and rebuild their lives safely soon and live in peace. And with that, let's begin, everyone. I want to welcome you all. I'm Mark Margolius for the Institute for Jewish Spirituality. Welcome to our daily Jewish mindfulness meditation practice. Those of you who are regulars know that we were off yesterday, and really glad to be here today, and we'll be here tomorrow as well. El Shai will lead us tomorrow to sit into Shabbat together, and then next week, just a note that we'll be meeting Monday through Wednesday, but not on Thursday or Friday. American Thanksgiving on Thursday and the day after, um, and be back for a full week of practice the week after. So just to note that. All our sessions are live streamed on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. If you're joining us there, welcome. Want to encourage you to see if you can avoid the impulse to multitask and see if you can just be present with us for a few minutes. Glad to have you. If you'd like to join us on Zoom, as we usually have several hundred people sitting together on Zoom, please sign up at our website, jewishspirituality.org. And just have one announcement, and then we'll get to our practice today. And that is really excited that for the first time we're partnering with Ritual Well on a series. It's a short 3-part series for preparing for Hanukkah. It's in early December, and it is a workshop, a 3-part workshop on meditation, combining meditation and poetry writing, liturgy writing, blessing writing, poetry writing. We have 2 really wonderful teachers, Rabbi Dan Lieben, who some of you may know, who has led our daily sit frequently, and Alana Bell, a wonderful poet and sound artist. And thanks to Harry Gobo, who's holding our tech space today, for putting the link in the chat. Check it out. It will be on Thursdays at 12 to 1:30, 3 straight weeks leading up to Hanukkah. And it starts first Thursday in December, on December 5th. So thanks for checking that out. So, friends, happy to be leading us in practice today. This week is Parshat Chaye Sarah, which will be read on Shabbat. It's a Torah portion really about death, but several deaths take place in this portion, including the deaths of Sarah, Abraham, and Ishmael. And but it has one verse. What I'd like to offer today or lift up for us as a basis for our practice that is a simple and very beautiful verse. And I'm going to share it on the screen. Thanks to Harry for putting the link for those who might want to look at it. And then we're going to move into our practice. But I want to offer this as our something to ground our practice. See. Here we go. Okay. Hope everyone can see it. It's from the part of the Torah portion that's after at the beginning of the parsha, where Sarah dies and Abraham negotiates with the indigenous people, the natives of the land, to purchase a burial plot for her. And after that is taken care of, and he's done with the, or he's gone through his mourning period for his wife Sarah. We have this verse, the first verse in chapter 24 of the book of Genesis. Abraham Zaken, Ba Bayamim. Abraham was Zaken, which means old, elderly. And then the phrase, which is often used at other times as well in the Hebrew Bible, Ba Bayamim, which means literally, he came into days. Ba Bayamim, Badonai Berach et Abraham Bakol, and Yud He Vav He, the Holy One blessed Abraham Bakol, in all, in everything. There's a Hasidic comment on this, which I'm really drawn to. The source is on the sheet. You can check it out. It's from a classic Hasidic Rebbe, Ze'ev Wolf of Zhitomir, who was a student of the Maggid of Mezrich, Rabbi Dov Ber of Mezrich, and it's in the book that's described here, Speaking Torah, Spiritual Teachings from Around the Maggid's Table. And Zev Wolf says that the meaning of that verse is that the original quality of chesed, that is usually translated as loving kindness, we might think about as loving connection, which is associated with Abraham, the elder, came into days. That means it became embodied and entered into temporal reality. So just simply put, it's a verse that is about embodying the quality of chesed, which is traditionally associated with Abraham. I'm going to take the screen share down. And that's the bit. I just want to offer that as our practice for today. However you want to understand practicing chesed, practicing loving kindness, manifesting it, whatever is going on in the world, in your family, in your personal life, we might think about practicing chesed really as an act of resistance, putting more chesed into our lives and into the world is as an act of resistance to that which is countering love and connection, that which is fracturing our world and breaking it down, breaking it apart. At IJS, we like to translate chesed, the word chesed, as loving connection. And that is an awareness of the unavoidable interrelatedness, interconnectivity of all being, of all life, which is the foundation of reality. And Abraham, as the first, monotheist, as he's often described, however whether you think he was an actual historical figure, or whether you think he was a mythic character, in Jewish tradition, he represents that awareness of interconnection. And when we have a sense of interconnection, then we might say that that sense of love, however you experience that, however you understand that, bubbles up out of that awareness. So practicing chesed really begins with noticing and cultivating a sense of connection, awareness of connection. And in a time when we're so fragmented, when so many are dedicated seemingly to driving us apart from each other and putting wedges between ourselves and uh, the living planet and within society, um, I do like to think about this as a little bit of an act of resistance, and I want to invite you to join me in that. So we're just going to practice chesed today, whatever that means for you. It could be chesed for yourself, it could be offering yourself the love that you need today, um, kindness that you need today, reconnecting with who you are, your most authentic self. It could be cultivating chesed for others, whether in your family or your friendship circle, or people who are ill, people you know of that you want to notice and acknowledge, celebrate, and deepen your sense of connection with them, embrace your sense of connection with them, whether it's your sense of connection with people you don't know, um, who are for who might be neutral, strangers passing on the street, or whether, if you want to take it further, those who we experience as, for lack of a better term, are enemies, as you know, it's sometimes expressed in the Psalms, the oyev, the enemy, those um, who seem to wish us harm, and to cultivate chesed and connection with them. Any or all of the above or more, you can choose where you want to direct your chesed today. So we're going to emulate Abraham. Ba Bayamim. We're going to come into days, in particular, Ayom, this day, this moment. So let's find a position that's comfortable. I like to, whenever we transition into meditation practice, I like to reset myself in the chair, this time with intention to be present. So we set a kavanah, an intention that we want to be present for ourselves and our experience over the next few minutes, moment by moment, knowing that we are going to stray from that intention, and then we will practice tshuva. We will practice coming back, which is going to be another opportunity to practice chesed. When our mind gets distracted and we start daydreaming about something from the past, something from the future, we start worrying or anxious about something about the future, we start ruminating over something that happened. When we catch ourselves, we might feel a little stab of judgment, not doing it right, not a good meditator, etc. Um, uh, Instead, we want to catch ourselves as if we would notice a toddler who started wandering away and just go over, take the toddler by the hand and say, right over here, sweetheart, come on back here. And see if we can practice chesed that way towards ourselves, just in our meditation practice. So let's take our seats and find a position that where you feel at ease. Give yourself some chesed. Find a position that feels comfortable. There's no right position. Make yourself at home in your body. And if you can plant your feet on the floor, great. If not, if you need to cross your legs or put some support under them, that's great. It's all good. It's all chesed today, all the time. And see if you can elongate the spine a little bit, maybe roll the shoulders back, press the crown of the head towards the sky, and tuck the chin down a little bit so that the vertebrae of the spine elongate a little bit in the neck. See if you can create a little space between the vertebrae. And just notice yourself as a conduit, as a channel connecting heaven and earth, and letting the breath come and go as it pleases without any effort. This is also a Shabbat practice of letting go of effort, effortless effort. So if you can notice effort on your part in drawing a breath in or expelling the breath out, see if you can bring some chesed and kindness to that and just let it come to you on its own, trusting it will arise. It will be as deep or shallow as it needs to be, and that it will leave, let it leave of its own accord, at its own pace. Allow ourselves to be breathed. We're going to have a nice long stretch of silent practice today. But the key, the anchor here is chesed. So if you notice any judgments about how you're doing, or about the world, or about your life, see if you can meet it with kindness, with chesed. See if you can bring chesed and love to your body just the way it is. See if you can welcome and love your feelings just as they are. See if you can bring love and kindness and chesed to your mind. Ease your mind without forcing anything. See if you can bring some ease and kindness and love to your spirit. As always, might be helpful to put one hand or both hands and offer that physically, offer that little massage to your heart. You might hold your own hand as you were holding the hand of that toddler. You might massage your temples or your forehead. Give yourself a little spa treatment there. Whatever you like. We're walking in the footsteps of Abraham today. Ba Bayamim. And when we bring that chesed into our day, we are blessed bakol. You might feel that we have all the blessing we need. So let's sit for the next 10 minutes or so, and I'll bring us back when we're ready to conclude. Your mind is drifted off. No worries. An opportunity to practice chesed. Bring yourself back gently to this practice of chesed. And if you are noticing any places in your body that are tense or about which you have a judgment, you can offer yourself some love, acceptance for yourself just as you are. You're doing great. You might want to send some love to somebody else or to a group or to anyone you choose. Send some love, some of the love that you're sending towards yourself out towards someone you know, someone you're praying for. In the last few minutes of our practice, I want to invite us all as if we were, as it were, virtually visiting the grave of our ancestors, Abraham and Sarah, who embodied this quality of chesed, who brought it into our lineage and our tradition to build a whole way of being and a way of understanding life as rooted in love and connection, being witnesses to the interconnectivity of all life, of all being. Express some gratitude to them and recognize the ways in which we carry them with us wherever we go. And offer some gratitude to them being part of this lineage. Imperfect people who nevertheless, Baba Yamin, brought this quality into our days. The last few minutes of our practice together, this chesed practice, let's see if we can bring to our awareness all the others right now among us who are doing the same thing, just trying to practice the ability to be loving towards ourselves and towards each other, being loving beings in our daily lives best we can, imperfectly, and see if we can tap into the love that's generated by everybody in this group right now. See if you can feel yourself sitting in a field, in a room filled with that energy of chesed, and see if that strengthens your own. According to the psalmist, Ki li'olam chasto, that God's chesed is limitless, infinite, fills all time and space, where it basically exists in a field of light and love, of chesed, when we remember. So let's just bask in that, absorb it, send it out, and pray that we might be messengers and conduits and channels for that love in the world. Begin to bring our practice to a close. If your eyes have been closed, inviting you to gently let them open if you like or not. Come back to our group. And we can, in this week of Chaye Sarah, we can practice chesed right now also by remembering our dead, by honoring them, our ancestors. So those who are in mourning or observing a yard site, or if it's your custom to join in the mourner's Kaddish, do so. The rest of us can practice chesed for them, support them with our loving compassion and support. And if you are reciting Kaddish, I invite you to put the name or name of any of your ancestors, friends, or whoever you're remembering or honoring today in the chat now or after you recite Kaddish. And invite you to join me by rising in body or in spirit. And if you're reciting Kaddish, you can unmute at this time. Yitkadal, Kadash, Rabba, Almad,
Kenal v'yikadosh Rabbanim, Almad v'yirach v'yirkeim
V'chayechon,
yamim v'yikutem, V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayid Yisrael, Nalav v'smakari v'murmeim, Eshmei Rabba Mevarach, Ul'olme Olmoyam, Yivarach v'yitabak, v'yirdev v'yikater v'yitalav, V'mei l'kdusha b'rechus, V'mei kol v'chol v'shirata, V'kata v'dechem matadam yom v'mim, Shlom Rabba Shemaya, Ema Israel, Yiromim, Asay Shalom B'Mamam, V'yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Kol Yisrael V'Yom.
Say shalom, Amen. Shalom, Israel,
Shalom, Aleinu, V'Yakol Yisrael, V'Yakol Yoshe Tevel, V'Yeru. Amen. And friends, thanks so much for joining us today. I want to thank Harry Goboa for holding our space today, as always, beautifully. Thank all of you for being here to generate this beautiful field of chesed today. I'm happy to stay on to respond to questions or any reflections in the chat. And if you're leaving us now, I want to invite you to join us tomorrow. I'm very delighted that Yael Shai will be leading us to sit into Shabbat together tomorrow. And a reminder that next week we'll be meeting Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but not Thursday and Friday. Also, we have 2 new episodes of our podcast, Jewish Meditation for Everyone. Features meditation led last week by Rabbi Jenny Solomon. And also this morning, we released the latest episode of our new podcast series, Weekly Meditation with Rabbi Angela Buckdahl. So just to let you know about those as resources that you can avail yourselves of. And we hope you'll subscribe to receive those podcasts if that's the kind of thing you do. And please spread the word and let people know about it as well. Um, and again, I'm very happy to respond to any questions, either about the text or any aspect of the practice today in the chat. Thanks for the kind words, everyone. Anna, thanks for the podcast. There is a resource sheet. Harry can put it in. It's a very simple one on just one verse in this week's Torah portion, Chaye Sarah. Okay, so here's a question. Thanks, Laura. Laura's asking, would you speak about the intention of embodying chesed while simultaneously feeling grief? Is there room for hope in this mix? All these questions, by the way, you're invited to respond to as well in the chat. I don't have the answers. I have my own answers. Laura, your question, I think, is really apt because, we have that juxtaposition in this Torah portion of Abraham, who represents this quality of chesed, but the Torah portion, I don't know if there's another Torah portion that has more death in it than this one. I think it has really a kind of a grief-filled Torah portion. It does have a long section that is taken up with Abraham sending his servant Eliezer back to the homeland to get a partner for Isaac, and Rebecca comes back, and so that's part of the story. So maybe Laura, all three of those aspects are in this Torah portion. That the act of, first of all, the act of honoring our dead by obtaining um, um, an appropriate place to bury them, by attending to their bodies after they have died and treating them with honor, kavod hamet, honoring the dead, is an act of chesed. Um, in fact, the burial process itself is in Jewish tradition has this weird phrase called it's an act of chesed shel emet, of loving kindness, of truth, of which I understand as it's understood as an act of chesed because it's something that can't be repaid. The person you're burying or accompanying is not something that they can reciprocate. So there's chesed in attending to loss in the midst of experiencing grief. Of course, visiting the mourners is an act of chesed. Um, and yet also in this portion, we have looking ahead, and Abraham is looking ahead to when he's gone. He's planning, he's doing some advanced planning here to try to find an appropriate mate for his son, Isaac. And the test that's set up by Eliezer, his servant, when he goes and sits by the well to observe what's happening, is he finds a woman who also embodies the quality of chesed, who runs to help uh, water the camels, and are very much like Abraham, who uses passion and alacrity, zirizut, to serve others. And Eliezer says, "This is the one." Um, so all of those qualities are there. Chesed, grief, and hope are all in the Torah portion. So long way of saying yes. See? Okay, there's a question from, lost it. Margaret. Abram has the vertical kind of love, especially his obedience to God down. But the horizontal, Sarah, Hagar, Ishmael, and Isaac, not just imperfect, but a bit of a loser. No. Well, I did say imperfect during our practice today. Not just imperfect, but a bit of a loser. Um, well, we'll leave that to each of us to judge Abraham on that score. But he's, let's say, inconsistent from what we can tell from the Torah. And I think this idea that there's biblical characters being archetypes, we always have this tension that they're archetypes of particular qualities, and yet in the stories that we get in the Torah, they really are quite imperfect and flawed, and that's one of the beauties. And the way I relate to that is just like me, I'm quite imperfect and flawed. Um, and yet I can recognize that I have those qualities within me, of that capacity, and maybe that's my takeaway there. Um, I guess after looking at those texts for a long time, I begin to think, all right, you know, I'm not so surprised. I'm not even that. I continue to be disappointed, um, and yet the judgment becomes a little softer over time as we recognize our own foibles and fallibilities, and maybe we see a little bit of ourselves in those. So thanks for the question, though. And Sherry, what are some sources for Jewish movement meditations? Lately, I've had that need and satisfied with Qigong movements or art. Hmm. That's an excellent question, Sherry. Thank you. I don't know. I'm going to actually put that question to the rest of the IGS faculty. So actually, if you would email me, I'll try to get your response and group source that, because I actually, off the top of my head, I don't know what to suggest. Maybe others here have some suggestions. So feel free to do that. Anita, I have drawings of Chesed and other Jewish themes as I draw in the moment. How can I share my spiritual Jewish drawings? Well, Anita, I'd love to see that, what you drew for Chesed. And hmm. Oh yes, thank you, Alice, for putting that great resource for Jewish end of life sources. Um, yeah, Harry, if we can put the podcast link for weekly meditation with Angela Buchdahl, but I think if you just Google weekly meditation with Rabbi Angela Buchdahl, it will come up, and you can find them that way too. Stacy, thanks. And I think I missed a lot of these texts. Um, okay. Steve, can give some examples of Abraham's chesed. Well, I think the classic example of Abraham's chesed was in last week in Vayera, with the three anonymous visitors who come pass by Abraham's tent, that he runs out to greet them, to welcome them into the tent, to offer them food, offer them hospitality. Might say also, um, Abraham's arguing with God about the fate of the residents of Sodom and Amorah, Sodom and Gomorrah, or he, tries to negotiate God down, not to destroy the city, if there are 10 righteous people in it eventually. Um, those are some examples, I would say. And how much is courage a significant part of loving kindness? Seems difficult to extend kindness while feeling fearful. Amen to that, Anne. It is difficult to extend kindness when we feel fear. Maybe that's why at the outset, was kind of describing this kindness practice as a kind of resistance or countercultural. And doesn't mean that we should suppress the fear. Um, it depends what you mean by courage, but if courage is acting notwithstanding feeling fear, not overcoming fear, not denying fear, not powering through fear, but acting in the face of fear, then yeah, it is an act of courage to practice, to be loving. I mean, the role model who comes most readily to mind for me, and maybe for a lot of you, is Dr. King, also a flawed person, by the way, um, who chose to manifest chesed as an act of resistance in the face of terrible opposition and ultimately losing his life while feeling fearful, I'm sure. And we have that as a model as well um, of being agents of chesed. And to me, it was like very helpful for me today to like have this virtual visit to Abraham Asar's grave and to think of them, of us as trustees of their legacy of chesed, that we're carrying that on best we can, even under very difficult circumstances at times. So, all right, friends, let's thank you so much for all these beautiful comments and questions and for your deep engagement in the practice today. Really a privilege to get to do this with you. I'm always grateful for the honor to do that. And I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow to sit into Shabbat Chaye Sarah together. And hope you stay safe and well till then. Thanks, Harry, for holding us together. And we'll see you tomorrow at our usual time, everyone. Many blessings. Be well.